All right. So again, a very good morning, Balaji.
Good
So
morning, sir.
okay. So how has been your morning till now?
Yeah, it was fine, sir. Yeah.
Okay. So if you are ready, we can start off with the interview with the mock interview.
Yes, sir. I'm ready, sir.
Okay. So Balaji, like from your DAF, we can see that you have a very good academic record, right?
Yes.
You have a very good CGPA all in one of the most prestigious college of India. So like, did you sit for placements?
No, sir. I didn't choose to sit for placements.
Okay, so like, why do you don't want to work in a sector like where we need a lot of good engineers, and you want to join, which is government forest services?
So, basically, three reasons, sir. I look for a field job. I look for a diverse career, and I look for a job where I can put my analytical skills into use. And the profile of forest Indian Forest Services matches all these three. So that's the reason.
All right. So like, as a mechanical engineer, like, don't you get field job or analytical work?
So, but I was not very much interested in core arena completely. Like my focus will be like very narrow in that arena. I felt, but whereas here in Indian Forest Services, as you have seen my academic records, so there are scope for even research in forestry where I could be contributing, and then in forest management and in other areas. So I felt like I would get a very diverse career.
All right. So like, you are from Villupuram district of Tamil Nadu.
Yes,
Can
sir.
tell us three special things about your district.
So there is Tiruvakkarai Geological Park situated in Vilppuram district. So it has this petrified woods, like woods turned into stones. It's one of the National Geoheritage Monument. And then there is this famous cultural festival of Kuagam Festival, where transgender from all over the world they come here and to celebrate certain occasion in May month. Then in the Viluppuram district, we have Kalvarayan Hills, where Malayali tribes are prominent in that arena.
All right. Very good. Right. So. Like, your schooling has been from Tamil Nadu. Your college was in also in Tamil Nadu, right? So,
Yes, sir.
like, your profile is all Tamil Nadu link. So, have you visited or traveled to other states of India?
Yes, sir. In family trips, I had visited Kerala and then Andhra Pradesh.
Okay. So, like, what if you get some, northern states, like maybe you got Himachal Pradesh or, maybe Sikkim or Madhya Pradesh as a cadre. So, will you be comfortable with that?
Yes, sir. I'll be comfortable to that. In Tamil Nadu itself, we have experienced all sorts of climate. Some regions are plains, some regions are hills. So I don't think there will be any issues in getting acclimatized to such new situation. As well as from my experience in IIT, I am very much into connecting with new people. So it's fine.
All right. So, so, Balaji, tell me, like, India is doing pretty well in automobile sector, right? And you are also from
Yes, sir.
mechanical and a specialization in smart, manufacturing. So you tell me, why are we doing good in manufacturing but not so good in other sectors of manufacturing?
So it's due to certain reasons, sir. Like there is a clear-cut differences between what industry wants and what the academia provides. Even though the premier institutes are catching up with what the industry wants and they were able to provide the graduates, the other engineering colleges and institutions they fail to provide quality graduates. And second reason, in India, even though India has like very high manufacturing potential, we have labors and everything. We can shine in labor industry. The logistic costs are quite high. The logistic industry accounts for more than 14% of GDP, whereas it's around 8 to 10% in other industries. So this invariably adds cost to products, which make Indian products little bit tough in competition with the Chinese and other products.
All right. Okay, good. So, Balaji, like, there has been talks of climate change all across the world, right, including India. So, like,
Yes, sir.
okay, so can you see some of the impacts or manifestation of climate change in the state of Tamil Nadu?
Yes, so extremities, climate extremities. So that's happening right now. And even the Chennai floods that has happened, 2015 Chennai floods, 2017 water crisis in Chennai. No one would have imagined that a place that has been flooded wholly would experience water crisis. So all these are manifestations of climate change.
Okay. So like you also are into watching wildlife documentary. So like
Yes, sir.
if I ask you to suggest some some sources to view wildlife documentary to a 15-year-old kid, right? So like what will you suggest from where he or she should watch these and inculcate interest in wildlife?
So they should start with works of David Attenborough, sir. Like Planet Earth season 1 and season 2, they are very much helpful. And then there is this one wildlife documentary which is not very famous, Heroes of the Wild Frontiers. It's available freely in internet. Like they would provide them with insights into Indian wildlife and how the frontline staffs are protecting the wildlife, and it will give them more lively experience.
All right.
They can relate to it.
All right. So my last question to you is that you also have physics as an optional, right?
Yes, sir.
So like what is Higgs boson?
Sir,
What is Higgs boson?
boson. Higgs boson, it's one of the fundamental particle which has been come out of the experiments that has been conducted with the Large Hadron Collider at CERN. So basically, it tries to bring about unification of everything. It like there is a theory that this there is a unification between different forces, strong forces, weak forces, and then electromagnetic forces. And then at very certain temperatures, this at very large temperatures they tend to unify. That's the prediction of this theory. And one of the mathematical concepts that they have introduced to satisfy this theory is Higgs field. And when they found that Higgs boson, so there is widely believed among scientists that yes, all the forces are unified. Like there is this theory of everything. So that's the starting point.
Okay. So like why is it called particle?
Because it's very fundamental particle and it unifies everything. Like it's like it unifies all the known forces. Like presently we know there are four type of interactions. So as it unifies everything, it's like the god.
All right. So like thank you. That's all from my side for time being. Over to
Yes, sir.
Rishabh sir.
Yes, sir.
Good morning, Balaji.
Good morning, sir.
Am I audible to you?
Yes, sir. You are audible, sir.
Okay, so let's start. So, Balaji, can you tell us why your district Tiruvarur is regarded as the origin of Carnatic music?
So there is this famous temple, Tyagaraja temple is there at Tiruvarur. So it's famous for that. And Tyagaraja is one of the known pioneer in Carnatic music. And so that's why. Sir.
Are you aware of trinity of Carnatic music?
No, sir. I was not aware. Sir.
Okay, so all three of them belong to your district. Okay.
Okay, sir.
So, can you tell us few differences between Carnatic music and Hindustani music?
Sorry, sir. I'm not aware, sir.
Okay, no problem. What is this Ramsar sites?
In Tamil Nadu.
What is this concept?
So they tend to conserve and protect wetlands. They tend to designate wetlands as wetlands of international importance, and in a long-term perspective, they tend to conserve and protect them.
Okay, so can you tell us a few Ramsar sites in Tamil Nadu?
So, mm, Point Calimar. So I can remember only Point Calimar for now.
Okay. And can you tell us the neighboring district of Tiruvarur, which shares the
Neighboring.
boundary with your district?
It shares boundary with Tanjavur districts, sir. Tanjavur and Nagapattinam districts.
Okay. So you have been associated with the teaching also.
Yes, sir. I was a teaching assistant.
Okay, good. So, can you suggest us three major changes which you would like to bring in the engineering syllabus, or specifically to the mechanical engineering syllabus?
Yes, sir. There are certain redundant courses are there which have not been updated for a long time. So they needs to be replaced. Like I had this course of course in certain design courses were there where they were not updated. And secondly, even those laboratory classes which we had, the softwares were outdated. When Autodesk has released Fusion 360, where we can make anything and everything possible in design, but still we were stick doing this old CAD drawings and then Creo softwares. We are sticking to it, so that can be changed. And thirdly, the emerging technologies, like as of now the emerging technologies are seen as separately, so a couple of courses can be introduced, like artificial intelligence in manufacturing, and then cloud computing and manufacturing, or cloud computing and other engineering streams, or maybe cloud computing and mechanical design. So such courses can be introduced that can bring about a true interdisciplinary perspective into everything.
Okay. So Balaji, can you tell us how the 3D printers they can revolutionize the medical field? Can you suggest few things?
So they make the entire manufacturing system eco decentralized, and they will make mass customization possible. So with 3D printers, the bio implants or the prosthetic limbs, they can be customized to a very large extent. It's more about the consumer experience. Like they can
O-
ensure that it properly fits into that particular person, so he does not feel any kind of discomfort.
Okay, and in any other areas in
Like
the
there are
medical
also
field itself?
researchers conducted by couple of universities in US and Israel. They are currently involved about developing 3D printed hearts, 3D printed organs, tissue printing, and so on. So
Okay.
once it's very much successful, then we need not actively look for organ donors or anyone.
Uh,
So it will be very much possible.
Okay, good. So, can you tell us what is this PBTG, and can you name few of the PBTGs in Tamil Nadu?
So there are six particularly vulnerable tribal groups in Tamil Nadu. Those are Toda, Kota, Panika, Katanayakan, and Irlas. Sorry, I forgot the sixth one.
What are the criteria to
Hmm.
be in the PBTG?
So they have been isolated for a long time. They are away from mainstream. They are engaged in primitive agriculture. They have certain closed social customs, and so on. So,
Thank you, Balaji. That's all from my side. Now over to you, Advait sir.
yes, sir.
So good morning, Balaji. How's your
Good
day
morning.
going?
Yeah, it's well and good, sir. It's going good.
So you are from Velupuram district, right? And Velupuram, what kind of a climate Velupuram has?
So it mostly consists of plain area, and most of the time it has a dry weather, except during northeast monsoon season where it's rainy.
Okay, so what do you call it according to the classification? Like what kind of climate would you say?
Mm, uh, like I don't know the exact terms, sir. I'm not getting in that in mind.
Okay, see, the region is in tropical region, right? So it has
Yes,
to
sir.
be subtype of tropical.
Mm. So the forests are mainly tropical dry deciduous, but then climate, I'm not able to remember the exact names. Sorry, sir.
Okay, so it's tropical savanna type climate.
Okay, sir. So,
Like you have already mentioned, it's deciduous. So that means rainfall is not distributed throughout the year.
yes,
More
sir.
rain falls in the summer. So that's why. Okay, so now if tomorrow I visit Velupuram, so which place do you think I should visit?
So you should definitely visit Tiruvakkarai Fossil Wood Park. So it's quite an interesting site where we have petrified woods. So it's quite an interesting site. Yes, sir.
And Velupuram is also having a historical fort over there.
Yes, sir. Ginji Fort is there, sir. Yes,
So
sir.
what's so special about about this fort and its history?
So it's one of the well and most protected forts. So it has like and even during Maratha period, it was under Maratha's control. Even Shivaji has called it like one of the most protected forts.
Now see, Velupuram is very close to Pondicherry,
Yes, sir.
and also like Chennai, like it lies in between. And this region has faced lots of wars if we speak of the history. So can you tell us some of the Anglo-French wars, if you are aware?
Uh, I'm not sure, sir. I can only remember about Anglo-Carnatic Wars 1, 2, and 3. I'm not sure about the specific war that happened in this region.
Anglo-French wars, okay. You lived in Chennai, right? Okay,
Yes,
there
sir.
is one locality of Chennai which itself was the center of this war,
George Fort, sir.
the George Fort. And have you heard of Sandhome?
Yes, sir. Sandrom, sir. Sandrom. Sorry, sir.
Yeah, so
Sandrom.
Sandhome was actually the first venue for the war. Then there was
Yes, sir.
Wendy Wash. So these were the series of war between Anglo and French.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so what are what do you understand by forest fires?
So, forest fires have been majorly anthropogenic in cause in India. And according to Indian State of Forest report, more than 36% of forest cover in India is prone to fires.
Or is there any non-anthropogenic cause also? Any particular species which is contributing to it?
So, like lightning can be a cause, and then like rubbing of leaves in a dry deciduous forest and in very summer season during extreme temperature when there is low humidity and there is no rainfall. In that scenario, like rubbing of brown leaves, that might give a spark, and the forest fire can start.
Okay, and does the species composition also plays a role when it comes to forest fire?
Yes, sir. It also plays a role, sir. Yes, sir. For example, in the Uttarakhand region, the pine forests they tend to catch fire more. So, like they have certain inflammable chemical in their leaves and other things, so they are very prone to fires.
Okay, and how do you control forest fires?
So, forest fires in a short-term perspective or long-term perspective, sir.
Both.
So, in a short-term perspective, already we have some certain early warning systems in place. We can empower the local communities and we can create awareness among public. Example, certain wildlife sanctuaries and national parks, they are currently visited by tourists. So we can create awareness among them not to do any such activities that will bring about forest fires and so on. And in a long term perspective, we can go with fire lanes, and then we can even do controlled burning to address forest fires.
So, can forest fire be advantageous to us?
Yes, sir. Like in certain cases, it's advantageous. In ground fire, in areas where the lantana camera has like the invasive species lantana camera has got like thick undergrowth. So certain times the forest fire helps in removing the invasive species altogether. And sometimes it can even remove the undecomposed leaf mat so that regeneration can come up.
Okay, and have you heard of fire breaks?
Fire?
Fire breaks.
Fire breaks? No, sir. I haven't heard about it, sir.
Okay, it is a technique to prevent forest fire.
So the fire happens due to three reasons: fuel, oxygen, and when there is a source to spark. So if we control either of them, the fire can be controlled. So here in this case, let's say in the Uttarakhand region, now the forest department is actively promoting oak trees. So oak trees are in agroforestry and everything to replace pine trees. So that's one such solution where the fuel issue is addressed. And in case of oxygen, the counter fires can be used to address oxygen, so that the oxygen availability will be less and the fire can be limited to a certain area. And in the third case, the spark that provides the fire. So for that we need to create huge awareness, and we need to restrict the movement of inflammable materials into forest. Like there should be like strict no smoking zones, and banning of campfires and so on within forest regions.
You stayed in IIT Madras. So what's unique thing about IIT Madras? Its campus.
So actually, it was part of Gindi National Park. So it was carved out of Gindi National Park. So we can find very rich wildlife in IIT Madras. So we have spotted deers, we have black bucks, we have mongoose, monitor lizards, and so on.
Okay. So, like you are living in Chennai, and one year Chennai is witnessing floods. The other year there is droughts also. So, what's the reason behind it? Chennai having this extremity.
So it's because this terminology is there, concrete jungles. So the green areas have disappeared in Chennai, and most of the time it is mostly filled with concrete structures, and there are heavy vehicular emissions. Vehicular pollution is there. So these pollutions, they provide the material for formation of clouds. They provide the particle hygroscopic material where water moisture can condense and they can form clouds, and we will get heavy rain. And also the drainage system in Chennai, like the old tanks and then the old farm fields and wetlands, most of them are encroached, and the rapid urbanization even led to like very unplanned areas. So these were main factors for raining in Chennai. And due to this heavy rain in Chennai, the rural regions are not getting much rain, so the rains are getting distributed, change in distribution.
Then there is another issue of quality of water in Chennai. Like in
Yes,
IIT
sir.
Madras, also you must be relying on outsourced water bottles, bigger ones to consume water. So, what's the reason behind this that much level of down degradation of water in Chennai?
So it's because of this pollution, water pollution that has been happening. And also the Chennai has some very beautiful wetland landscape called Pallikarnai landscape. But unfortunately, it has been turned into a solid waste landfill now. So this wetland ecosystem for a very long time, it acts as reservoir for Chennai, and they tend to like reduce the pollutants and ensure the quality of groundwater. But now it has largely turned into a landfill, and now the Tamil Nadu government is looking into steps to restore the wetlands area. And with regard to IIT Madras, there is an in-house sewage treatment plant is there, which ensures that the wastewater that has been producing at IIT Madras, it's recycled and good quality water is provided.
Okay, and earlier you were mentioning transgenders also. Like some event is there in your district, and Tamil Nadu is one of the most progressive states in the country when it comes to transgenders and their rights. So, can you tell us
Yes.
some of the initiatives by the government in that direction?
So the government has undertaken certain steps like providing patta lands to transgenders, involving them in skillings, and there are places where government has even brought about toilets for third gender. And yes, sir. So these 3 points I can remember.
Okay, and what about rights? Rights as if representation rights or the familial rights regarding transgenders.
So there have been active call from everyone. Like even one of the Tamil Nadu MPs who has actively talked about in Parliament about transgender, and he's the main reason behind pausing of the transgender bill as well. So they are talking about representation, and the government is also actively considering steps to provide reservation to transgenders in the long term. For an initial step, currently the government has made travel in public transport completely free for transgenders.
We
Okay,
can
and
we can move to Paritosh sir, and
yeah,
then you can again ask in the end, right?
yeah, that's all from my side.
Thanks.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Good morning, Balaji. Am I audible?
Yes, sir. You are audible, sir. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. So, there's a lot of talk about environment. Only one question from my side. Why are the deciduous forests of Tamil Nadu called semi-evergreen?
So that's because there are certain forests in the Nilgiris areas and other things. Even though the Tamil Nadu is majorly having dry deciduous forest, there are certain forests where there are mixed species of trees. It's not totally evergreen all throughout the year. Certain species they shed leaves, and then certain species they grow during certain
Uh,
times.
no, sorry to correct you, but it is because there are certain regions of Tamil Nadu which face scarcity of rainfall, but due to this northeast monsoons and also because of the gaps, the Palakkad gap and all, they
Yes.
get rainfall in both the seasons, like
Okay,
in the
sir.
northern
Yes.
hemisphere when we call it summer and winter season. So that's
Yes, sir.
why they are semi-evergreen in it.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So I see that you're really smart, hardworking. You have interest in 3D printing. So
Yes, sir.
what are you doing to pursue that interest?
So actually, during my college days, I was involved in certain 3D printing clubs, and I had done a couple of research projects under professors as well. Right now, I'm doing some kind of freelancing works, like from my college mates, and then from my research lab where I work. If there is any demand, I tend to create some models, slice them, and
Can
send
you
them
name
back ready for
some
3D printing.
Can you name some startups in the field of 3D printing in India?
Startups. Currently, there is one startup within IIT Madras. So they have built 3D printed houses. So I was not able to recollect their name exactly. And then I came across one more startup, Next Gen 3D printers. So they are actively making 3D printers, selling them, as well as they are creating products. Like once we give them our requirements, they make 3D printed products and give.
No, but you're not aware of. There are many startups actually in the field of 3D printing, and the good part is that most of those startups are being led by our generation people.
Mm.
So yeah. So
Yes.
can you compare additive and subtractive manufacturing, like the advantages of additive manufacturing and the advantages of subtractive manufacturing?
So, additive manufacturing will make the entire manufacturing ecosystem sustainable in the long term. It makes sure that there are no waste. Whereas in case of subtractive manufacturing, there will be waste will be there. We tend to subtract from certain cubes or parts and to get the desired product. And secondly, additive manufacturing is highly design driven. There is nothing that stops us from making a product which we had conceptualized. Whereas in subtractive manufacturing, there are limits to manufacturing that limits our design. So we can be creative, but still there are certain limits by which we can make the product possible.
Yeah, but I asked you the advantages of both.
Okay, sir. Sorry, sir. I thought you asked about differences. So in additive manufacturing, the mass customization is possible. In subtractive manufacturing, mass production is possible.
Okay. So, Balaji, when you go to the hills, there's a certain point above which no tree can be found.
Hmm.
What is that line called?
Snow line.
Yeah. So, when we compare the eastern Himalayas and western Himalayas,
Hmm.
where should I expect the snow line to be higher?
Eastern Himalayas and Western Himalayas. So it should be higher in Eastern Himalayas
Why?
because there is this monsoon and heavy evergreen vegetation is present all throughout the hills, and even the southwest monsoon that is going from here, they tend to create certain orographic rains. They tend to go to a very certain height. So this ensures that vegetation is present even at greater heights. So the snow line will be like very higher in Eastern Himalayas.
Uh, my final question to you is, like, I'm also interested in 3D printing. I have also done some work. I just want to know that if you were to join services, how do you plan to, really contribute to this field of 3D printing? Because uh, going by a profile and all, I think you should convert your interest into some kind of a contribution or some kind of work. So how do you plan to do that? Have you planned yet?
So I have been thinking about 3D printing of wood materials. I have come across certain literatures and concepts where the from sawdust we can 3D print. There is a special type of 3D printing called binder jetting, where we will add binders, so it can even replicate the grain structure of wood. So I feel that after coming into service, if I get a chance to contribute by working in scientific research in forestry, I would be pursuing this binder jetting technology and 3D printing using sawwood, so that in a long term, the dependent on woods can be very much reduced and the waste can be turned into something useful.
So my final question is a situational question. Supposedly you are posted somewhere
Mm.
and a wildlife, uh, let's say a leopard, has attacked a human being and it has killed it. Now the villagers are protesting that they want that leopard to be killed. They don't want it to be captured and released somewhere else or tranquiliated. Or they are protesting that it should be killed like anyhow.
Mm. Yes, sir.
And they are using their own means. They are crowding around. They are collecting guns and whatever they have.
Mm.
So, what steps will you take? Can you enumerate them chronologically, like 5 steps to fulfill your duties?
So basically, in this scenario, there has been pressure from the public. But still, if a leopard attacks a man, there are two ways we can sort it out. One is by killing, and one is by capturing. And leopard is a Schedule 1 animal, and it has posed threat to wildlife. And if there is no possible way by which it can be captured, relocated, and rehabilitated, then with the due permission of Chief Wildlife Warden, it can be hunted. But then, even if it has to be hunted, it has to be done only by the Forest Department personnel, not by outsiders. And here, specifically in this issue, we need to allay that fears among the people. So, wildlife, if they sense any kind of threat, they tend to run away from there. And they tend to attack mostly in self-defense. That's the most possibility. So we need to make people understand this. So whatever village community or we are talking about, if they are educated enough, we can persuade them. In case if they are from very low literacy level or
Uh,
something, we can talk with
uh,
community leaders
so,
and persuade
sorry
them.
to, yeah,
Yes, sir.
yeah. I asked you like clear steps, but you
Hmm.
went into the philosophical thing. But it was okay. It was nice talking to you. That was all from my side. Over to Mayan sir for continuing.
Rajnish sir can take over from here.
Yeah. Good morning, Balaji.
Yes, sir. Good morning, sir.
So sorry, I cannot switch on my camera because I'm in a very remote location, and but I can see you at least.
Yes,
Uh,
sir.
so I can see that you are very well prepared. So may I ask you that, as per you, what are the major challenges of forest department across India? If you have to mention three major challenges before the forest department, what are they?
Yes, sir. First challenge: human wildlife conflict. Second challenge: invasive species. That has been a major challenge. And third thing, manpower issues and modernization of forest force.
Okay. So given the chance, as a forest officer, how you will deal with the man animal conflict? Few of the things you have already mentioned when answering to the Paritosh questions, that you will educate people. I mean, these are all long term measures,
Yes, sir.
but immediately when you are at the spot, or you are already in a situation where you are perceiving that there are possibilities of conflict. So what are the quick remedial thing a forest officer can think of in terms of technology, because you comes from a technology domain? So how
Yeah.
technology can be incorporated to mitigate the conflict in a short term manner?
So we can use an early warning system. We can place camera traps and we can even make certain apps where people will register if they have sighted any wildlife in and around that area, so that everyone
Mhm.
will be aware of the wildlife. And actually, this technology has been implemented in and around Animalai Tiger Reserve of Pollachi region, where they have
Mhm.
even brought about human wildlife conflict to a they reduced the human wildlife conflict to a very great extent. And secondly, We can use drones for surveillance to surveil the movement of elephants and so on.
Okay, what are the other animals in conflict? In if you'll see the pan India, scenario, apart
Yes,
from
sir.
elephants.
So wild boar, leopards, tigers. Yes, sir. These three I can remember, sir.
Okay. Are you aware about the conflict arisen from the blue bulls?
Bulls. No, no,
Blue
sir. I
bulls
was
or the Nil guys.
Neil
Okay,
guys.
they do a lot of crop raiding, and
Yes,
they don't kill human, but they raid crop, and so is the wild boar. So these are the animal apart from the tiger, leopard, and elephant. They are also in conflict.
yes, sir.
Acha, may I know what other part of India you have seen during your tours or you visit family trips?
So I had visited Kerala. Actually, it was more of a pilgrimage tour outside Tamil Nadu. So I had visited
Okay,
Kerala and then Tirumala Hills, Tirupati.
okay,
Yes,
that's
sir.
it. Outside Tamil Nadu, only one state you have been to.
Yes, sir. And then for one conference or one program, I have been to Goa once.
Okay,
That's it.
so what kind of ecological difference you see in these three states? All three are otherwise coastal state. They have a good amount of coastline.
Yes, sir. So we'll have in Kerala, we have Western Ghats region is there, and the monsoon is highly southwest monsoon. It's driven by southwest monsoon, and there is lush green vegetation everywhere. And
Mm-hmm.
in case of Andhra Pradesh, it's mostly moist and dry deciduous forest are there in Andhra Pradesh. And
Mm-hmm.
there are less patches of evergreen forest in Andhra Pradesh, at least the regions I had visited. And in Goa, it's more of a tourist spot, and the forest cover, there are mangroves present in that Goa Ratnagiri region, there are mangroves present. So these three differences I can notice.
Okay, good. You talked about the tourism in Goa, and these days ecotourism is also discussed, and government of India is trying hard to promote ecotourism.
Yes.
So first thing, what you understand of ecotourism, and what are the dynamics of ecotourism in country? I mean, what
So
are your observation or what you have read?
yes, sir. So ecotourism, they want to make the entire tourism industry sustainable in the long term. They have certain objectives. They need to make people aware of our physical environment. They try to make people aware of the benefits, ecosystem benefits provided by wildlife and then forest. So they educate the people about wildlife. At the same time, they also, when this ecotourists tend to visit places, they provide some sort of livelihood to local people. And secondly, they also ensure that there is some kind of fund flows and everything is there. So when people tend to visit some national parks and they were like amazed by the activities that they are doing, they tend to make some donations and other things are there. And this has been widely in practice. This ecotourism has benefited a lot. The Periyar Tiger Reserve of Kerala. Actually, 1980s there are like huge poaching and so much of issues that was going on in Periyar Tiger Reserve region. Then actually the villagers in and around the tiger reserves, they were helping the poachers for money. Then they formed the eco development committee and involved them as guides and anti-watching poachers and everything. Now it has become one of the prominent destination for ecotourism and it's flourishing.
Great. I'll conclude my this thing by asking you, what is your favorite, wild animal, and why it is favorite over others?
So my favorite is tiger, sir. That majestic creature, that majestic look, and the way it acts. It has its own territory. It's like the king in its own territory. And yes, sir. Like, and one more thing is, this tigers, it's an umbrella species where there are so many species that is dependent on them, and it protects the wildlife in the longer term. So,
Good answer. Thank you. So,
yes, sir.
Mayank, that's all from my side. Thank you.
So thank you, sir. Thank you, Balaji. I think your mock interview is over. So like,
Yes, sir.
Anna, you can leave the call for few minutes and then we'll call you back for the feedback, right? Thank you.
Yes,